There is a sign that your blood sugar may be changing, and it appears long before any blood test confirms it. This sign is not in the laboratory. It is in the mirror, in the way your belly has changed over the past few years. Stay with me until the end, because I am going to explain exactly why this happens, and what to do about it. I know it may seem strange to connect these two things, the belly you see in the mirror, and the blood sugar level that only shows up on a blood test. But science has repeatedly shown that there is a real connection between them. And this connection is stronger than the number on the scale, or even the well-known BMI. If you are over 45 and have ever heard a doctor mention abdominal fat or waist circumference, this video will show you why these terms matter so much. And at the end, I will give you the 3 steps that truly make a difference. No fads, just applied science. Not all fat is the same. First, you need to understand one thing. Not all body fat behaves in the same way. There is subcutaneous fat, the kind you can pinch with your fingers just beneath the skin. It may be aesthetically bothersome, but metabolically, it is relatively harmless. The problem is the other kind, visceral fat. It is located deeper inside the body, surrounding organs such as the liver, pancreas, and intestines, and unlike subcutaneous fat, visceral fat does not simply remain stored there. It behaves almost like a gland. It releases fatty acids directly into the vein that carries blood to the liver, and it releases inflammatory substances that circulate throughout the entire body. This type of fat, visceral fat, is the kind that usually accumulates around the belly. And that is why a growing belly, especially after the ages of 40 and 45, is often a much more concerning marker than fat stored in other areas, such as the hips or thighs. The connection with blood sugar. Now comes the part that connects everything. The inflammatory substances and fatty acids released by visceral fat directly interfere with the way the body's cells respond to insulin. Under normal conditions, insulin works like a key. It opens the door of the cells so glucose can enter and be turned into energy. But when there is an excess of visceral fat, that lock begins to rust. The cells respond less and less to insulin. This is called insulin resistance. The pancreas notices that glucose is not entering the cells properly, and it responds by producing even more insulin to compensate. For a while, this works, and fasting blood sugar tests remain normal. But this process has a limit. Over time, the pancreas can no longer compensate, and that is when blood sugar begins to rise. First, it reaches the prediabetes stage. Then, if nothing changes, it progresses to type 2 diabetes. In other words, a growing belly is not just an aesthetic issue. In many cases, it is a visible sign of a process that is already happening inside the body, silently, years before it appears on any test. The "I'm thin" myth. And here is something that confuses many people. You do not need to be overweight to have this problem. Researchers use a term to describe people who appear thin on the outside, but have a significant amount of visceral fat on the inside. Something like thin on the outside, fat on the inside. This explains why 2 people with the same weight, or even the same BMI, can have completely different risks of developing diabetes. That is why more and more doctors are paying attention to waist measurements, not just the scale. As a general reference, a waist measurement above 88 centimeters in women, or above 102 centimeters in men, usually raises a warning sign. But this number may vary from person to person, and it is always best to speak with your doctor for an individual evaluation. What really works? So, what should you do with this information? The good news is that visceral fat responds very well to lifestyle changes, sometimes even better than subcutaneous fat. According to science, 3 things make the biggest difference. The first is combined physical activity, aerobic exercise, such as brisk walking, together with strength training. Strength training is especially important after the age of 45 because it helps preserve muscle mass, which is the tissue that consumes the most glucose in the body. The second is reducing sugar and refined carbohydrates, not eliminating them completely, but reducing excess consumption, especially sugary drinks and ultra-processed foods, which are directly linked to the accumulation of visceral fat. And the third, which few people talk about, is sleep and stress. Poor sleep and chronic stress increase cortisol, a hormone that directly promotes fat accumulation in the abdominal area. Taking care of your sleep is not a luxury. It is part of the treatment. To summarize, yes, there is a real, scientifically supported connection between belly fat and high blood sugar. It is not a coincidence, and it is not only about appearance, or it is physiology. And most importantly, it is a connection that you can influence through practical steps starting today. If this video helped you better understand what is happening inside your body, leave a like. It helps this content reach more people who need to hear it. And subscribe to the channel, because every week I bring you a new topic to help you truly understand and control your blood sugar. I will see you in the next video.